Eros. If you've ever been in love before, then you know that it is really one of the most interesting journeys you can ever experience. But if you experience Eros love, then you'll see that it's more like a high-speed train straight to a romance novel's climax. Eros is one of the 6 love styles identified by psychologist John Allen Lee, and it represents the passionate, heart-racing, all-consuming form of love that thrives on attraction and emotional intensity. It is the love of soulmates and grand gestures, the kind that movies romanticize and poets fail to capture completely. Basically, Eros love is driven by intense physical and emotional attraction, and people who embody this love style tend to fall in love fast and hard, often describing their experiences as love at first sight. For an Eros lover, romance is not just a feeling, but a full-body experience, accompanied with the racing heart, butterflies in the stomach, and a deep certainty that they have found the one. These guys don't approach love logically or cautiously, but would dive in head first, believing that true love should be passionate, all-consuming, and exhilarating. An Eros lover is the type to send flowers for no reason, write heartfelt letters, and stare longingly into their partner's eyes as if seeing the entire universe within them. However, as thrilling as Eros love may be, it also comes with its challenges. You see, the truth is, love cannot always be moonlit walks and spontaneous getaways, so sometimes it'll get boring and mundane. But because this love style is so deeply rooted in passion and attraction, Eros lovers may struggle when the initial intensity begins to fade. They may even think it's because their partner no longer loves them, which is most times pretty far from the truth. Avoidant dismissive. The avoidant dismissive love style is what happens when someone likes you, but only in small, digestible doses. They value independence, get uncomfortable with emotional intimacy, and treat vulnerability like it's a limited resource they must protect at all costs. This isn't to say they don't want relationships. Many avoidant dismissive people do. However, they want them on their terms, where love exists without excessive emotional demands, constant check-ins, or the need to open up about their inner world. They love you, but wouldn't want to make a big deal out of it. So while others thrive on deep, meaningful conversations, an avoidant dismissive person may feel overwhelmed, uncomfortable, or even trapped when emotions become the focus. Well, like many attachment styles, the avoidant dismissive love style is often rooted in early life experiences. It frequently develops in response to caregivers who were emotionally unavailable, dismissive of emotions, or inconsistent in their affection. When a child learns that expressing emotions doesn't lead to comfort or connection, they may adapt by shutting down those feelings altogether. Over time, this defense mechanism becomes a core part of their personality. The brain essentially wires itself to believe that emotional closeness equals vulnerability, and vulnerability equals danger. So when faced with intimacy, the instinct is not to lean in, it's to protect themselves by withdrawing. Mania. Just picture the whole concept of love as a peaceful garden. Now set that garden on fire, add a tornado, and sprinkle in some Shakespearean tragedy, and just like that, you've created Mania love. This love is the most dramatic, intense, and emotionally exhausting love style of them all, and most times turns romance into an all-consuming whirlwind of highs and lows. If love were a movie, Mania wouldn't be a sweet rom-com, but it would be a full-blown psychological thriller. Because this love style is fueled by obsession, insecurity, and an overwhelming need for constant reassurance, people who experience this love style don't just fall in love, they dive head first with no parachute, convinced that their partner is the entire world. It isn't the kind of love that grows steadily over time. Instead, it explodes into existence, burning bright and fast. This emotional roller coaster is driven by extreme possessiveness, fear of abandonment, and an addiction to dramatic passion. Someone with a mania love style may text their partner incessantly, anxiously overanalyze their responses, and react dramatically to any perceived distance. A delay in replying to a message might trigger panic. A missed call could spark suspicions of betrayal. When things are good, they're euphoric, and it's full of deep passion and grand declarations of love. But when things are bad, they're catastrophic and would lead to violent fights, tears, and a desperate need to fix what feels like a crumbling world. Love, in this case, is not a peaceful partnership. It's a storm that never settles. If you want to show me some love, please subscribe, thanks. Pragma love. Now, let's say you're finally ready to buy your first car. Would you go for the shiny sports car that guzzles gas and breaks down every 3 months? Or would you pick the reliable hybrid that runs smoothly and lasts a lifetime? Well, Pragma love is choosing the hybrid. And what this simply means is that Pragma love is all about compatibility, shared goals, and a sustainable, drama-free future, and not about butterflies, grand gestures, or poetic love letters. To these guys, there's absolutely nothing like love at first sight in their dictionary because they need to weigh all the pros and cons first. Basically, pragma means practical in Greek, so this love style treats relationships like well-planned investments, long-term business partnerships, or a solid Costco membership. So, low risk, high reward, and full of benefits. It's the most logical, least chaotic, and most spreadsheet-friendly approach to love. If you go out on a date with a pragma lover, you should expect questions about kids, investment plans, and financial goals. For them, love isn't a wild roller coaster, but a carefully mapped out road trip with a full tank of gas and a clear destination. This love style understands that while chemistry might spark the flame, it's compatibility that keeps the fire burning. However, if we are being completely honest, pragma love isn't always the most romantic. Don't expect to revive spontaneous love letters and flowers from these guys because logic can overshadow the raw, emotional side of love. Ludus. If love were a playlist, Ludus would be the hip-hop dance track that's fast, fun, and impossible to resist. The term ludus basically means play in Latin, so this type of love is defined by flirtation, excitement, and a thrilling adventure where the chase is just as exciting as the catch. Basically, to this group of lovers, love is something that should be lighthearted and enjoyable rather than serious and intense. They thrive on the thrill of the chase, the excitement of new connections, and the art of keeping romance playful. They are masters of charm, witty banter, and playful teasing, effortlessly drawing people in with their confidence and charisma. To them, relationships shouldn't be emotional anchors, but an exciting experience to be enjoyed in the moment. In fact, the idea of settling down with one person feels suffocating to them because, why choose one when there are so many fish in the sea? Literally. But then, this carefree attitude towards love has some disadvantages because at the end of the day, Ludus lovers may struggle with emotional depth and commitment. The fact that they have so much charisma and charm makes people fall easily for them, and this can lead to a lot of misunderstanding and heartbreak for those seeking something more serious. Their tendency to ghost or detach when things get too intense can leave partners feeling confused or hurt. Plus, even though keeping romance light and fun can be exhilarating, it can also be lonely over time. Yes, flirting with a bunch of people is enjoyable, but who do you turn to when you actually need real emotional support? Storge. For as long as you can remember, you've been best friends with this guy. You both practically grew up together, and you know every single thing there is to know about him. However, as you were out having coffee one day, you just looked at him and suddenly came to the realization that you actually really love this guy. Not as a best friend, but in a very romantic, special way. That's basically the core heart of storage love. This love style is deeply rooted in familiarity and often develops between friends who gradually realize they mean more to each other than they thought, or in long-term relationships where romance has evolved beyond infatuation into something stable, comforting, and deeply secure. It's the kind of love where two people can sit in complete silence, each doing their own thing, and still feel completely together. It's knowing someone so well that you can communicate with just a glance, or feeling safe enough to let them see you at your absolute worst, messy hair, bad breath, and all. This love isn't about whirlwind romances or intense passion, but about consistency, emotional security, and a sense of home. It's the reason why some of the strongest relationships start with friendship. And because it's rooted in friendship, it provides a strong foundation for trust and loyalty. Storage love isn't easily shaken by conflict or external pressures because it weathers any storm. However, like anything comfortable, storage love can become boring and stagnant. The reliability, which is the very thing that makes it so strong, can also make it feel too safe and too predictable. Couples who share this love style may struggle to keep the romance alive, and might even start to feel like roommates instead of lovers if they don't put in the effort to maintain excitement. But in the grand scheme of things, storage love is one of the most enduring and rewarding forms of love. Agape love. Agape is the Mother Teresa of love styles, the selfless, unconditional ride-or-die love that expects nothing in return. This love style is the wise, self-sacrificing hero who puts everyone else first, no matter the cost. They expect nothing in return and would keep giving and giving even when there's no applause, no reward, and no "what's in it for me" attitude. This kind of love is what makes a parent wake up at 3 a.m. to soothe a crying baby, what compels a best friend to drop everything and rush to your side when you're heartbroken, and what inspires people to dedicate their lives to helping strangers. It is love in its most noble, unwavering form. Now, while agape love might sound rare in a world that often values self-interest over selflessness, it is more common than we think. One of the most recognizable examples of agape love is the love between parents and their children. I mean, no matter how many tantrums a child throws, how many questionable life choices they make, or how many times they forget to call home, a parent's love remains steadfast. And even when a grown child moves across the world in search of adventure, a parent will still send daily texts to know if you've eaten enough because that's just what agape does. However, while agape love is beautiful, it isn't always easy, as the very thing that makes it so special, which is its selflessness, can also be its biggest challenge. Loving without expecting anything in return is noble, but it can also leave a person drained, unappreciated, or even taken advantage of. People who love with an agape heart often find themselves giving endlessly, sometimes to those who don't deserve it. So, for agape love to be truly sustainable, it must also include self-love and boundaries. Loving others unconditionally is admirable, but loving yourself unconditionally is just as important. Fearful avoidant. Now, picture a cat. Not just any cat, but a deeply confused, emotionally unstable one. One second, it's purring and rubbing against you like you're its entire world, but the next minute, it's sprinting out of the room like it just saw a ghost. That's literally the textbook definition of a fearful avoidant attachment. Basically, the fearful avoidant attachment, also known as disorganized attachment, is like having your heart caught in a never-ending game of tug-of-war. On one side, there's an intense craving for closeness, intimacy, and love. On the other hand, a deep-rooted fear that the moment you get too close, you'll get hurt. So to solve the dilemma, they do a bit of both. They'll pull in, and just when you think everything's going smoothly, they'll push you away again like some bad allergy. These guys tend to self-sabotage their love life because why rush getting hurt when you can get out first? If love has a self-destruct button, a fearful avoidant would be mashing it while simultaneously hoping someone stops them. Unfortunately, this love style is often rooted in inconsistent or traumatic experiences in early life. Maybe their emotions were ignored, dismissed, or even punished. Or maybe there was neglect, abandonment, or even abuse. The point, though, is that to them, love was a minefield instead of a safe haven at an early stage, so the brain learned that closeness is dangerous. It's like being handed a delicious ice cream cone only to get slapped every time you take a bite. Eventually, you start side-eyeing ice cream like it's out to get you. That's how a fearful avoidant sees relationships. Tempting, but also potentially catastrophic. However, the good news is that being fearful avoidant doesn't mean you're doomed to a life of love-induced panic attacks. It just means you need to unlearn some emotional defense mechanisms that once protected you but are now just ruining your relationships. Infatuation. Infatuation is literally the fast food of love because it smells and looks irresistible and gives you a dopamine rush the second you take a bite. But if you give it time and reality kicks in, your stomach would start to hurt, your energy crashes, and you regret every decision that led you here. It feels like a full-course meal, but in the end, it was just greasy emotions wrapped in pretty packaging. Basically, infatuation isn't just liking someone, it's obsession on steroids. It's like your brain is running an Olympic-level sprint toward love, even though you barely know this person's last name. You convince yourself they're the perfect human specimen and ignore any and all red flags. You think about them so much that even Google would be concerned about your search history, and the worst part is the unrealistic expectations expectations you'd expect within 3 days of meeting them. Now the thing is, infatuation and love may look similar at first, but one is a sugar rush and the other is a balanced meal. Sure, they both taste sweet at the start, but only one will actually sustain you. However, the good news here is that sometimes infatuation can evolve into real love, but only if you take the time to actually get to know them, you slow down and let reality set in, and, well, you're sure you can handle their weird habits without reconsidering your existence. Empty love. Love stories usually start with fireworks, butterflies, and dramatic background music, but what happens when the fireworks fizzle out, the butterflies go extinct, and the background music becomes an awkward silence? Well, it turns into empty love, which is the relationship equivalent of an expired carton of milk sitting in the fridge. You don't want to drink it, but you're also not quite ready to throw it away. At its core, empty love is what happens when a relationship loses both passion and intimacy, but somehow commitment still refuses to leave the group chat. The truth, though, is that no one actually plans for empty love, and it'll sneak up on you like a subscription service you forgot to cancel. You could just wake up one day and realize you have absolutely no more feelings for your partner. You're stuck, and you're not even sure how you got there. Arranged marriages, long-term marriages, and even financial or social ties are some of the most common routes to empty love. The point is that no matter how it happens, one day you'll look at your partner and realize you're not in love. You're just in a legally binding roommate situation with shared grocery expenses. Surprisingly, sometimes, empty love isn't always a death sentence. It's just a long commercial break before the relationship gets interesting again. It can actually evolve in different directions, as some couples rekindle the spark through therapy, date nights, and the radical act of actually talking to each other. But some realize they're basically two strangers who just happen to split a Netflix account and call it quits, while others just accept it for what it is, a stable partnership without romance, and decide they're perfectly fine with love that's more tax benefits than passionate kisses in the rain.